Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for September 23rd, 2024. Everybody's calendar is marked present. We got everybody here. If you would, please join Councilmember Stipp in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious God, we pray that you will keep watch over us in these uncertain times. We ask that you grant your humble servants holy inspiration, that we may set our minds on the things that are right. We ask that you govern our hearts and minds, that we may remain faithful to you as you have taught us to love and care for one another. Tonight, we ask for your merciful guidance as we conduct the business of our city to make Goodyear a great place to live, play, work, and visit. We praise and thank you, Lord, for the many blessings that we have as a city and as individuals. We could not have done it alone. We ask that you lead us now in lives of service and obedience to fulfill your will. We please be with the men and women serving our city, our state, and our nation, both here and abroad. Guide and protect them as they protect us. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Stipp. Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of the City of Goodyear. Do we have any cards?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk, please read the consent agenda items 1 through 6 by title only.
Number 1, approval of minutes. Number 2, conditionally approve the map of dedication for sections of Goodyear Boulevard of approximately 0.930 acres of right-of-way, subject to stipulations. Number 3, approve the access agreement environmental activities related to the city parcel 501-61-936C and authorize its execution by the city manager. Number 4, approve the access agreement environmental activities related to city right-of-way and authorize its execution by the city manager. Number 5, authorize the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the joint agency agreement with Maricopa Association of Governments, MAG, for CIP project 42070 Vineyard and 143rd Avenue Safety Project. Number 6, adopt resolution number 2024-2423, delegating to the city manager the authority to exercise the city vehicle designation exemption pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-538.03.
Thank you. Does anybody on the council wish to remove a consent item? What?
I just have a comment to make about number 6.
Go ahead.
Since I asked for this to be pulled a couple of weeks ago, the staff has done the background work on this. I appreciate the extra effort and the learning, particularly by the chief and Winnett and the staff. my concerns regarding the issue have been addressed and ready to vote.
You're good? All right, with that, do I see a motion and a second? I see a motion and a second on the board. Can you go ahead and open it up for voting? Passes 7-0. We have one public hearing tonight. Public hearing item is to consider an amendment to the zoning ordinance relating to animal keeping and fowl. Open for public hearing. Here you go.
Good evening, Mayor. Christian Williams, Planning Manager. If I may, I'd like to give you an item that wouldn't attach to my presentation online.
Oh, my God. Oops. Hey, don't play any baseball here.
I'll stick to planning.
I caught it.
Okay. All right. Oh. All right, little
All right.
decorum now. Okay.
All right. So thank you. Tonight we will be discussing a zoning ordinance text amendment as a result of changes to the state law. So the purpose of this text amendment is to bring the city standards into conformance with the passage of House Bill 2325 during that 2024 legislative session, which amended Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 6-1 of Arizona Revised Statute. And it has to do with fowl, as we are going to define as chicken and rooster, thus the prop there. So this will impact all single-family residential zoning districts. It allows up to 6 chickens per lot. The city may restrict roosters, which this ordinance does propose. And as a note, this law change impacts cities and towns only. It does not impact HOAs. So if a resident has a private CC&R or covenant that they are party to as a private item, this does not involve that because that is a private matter, not a city matter. For animal keeping, fowl shall be kept in an enclosure and kept from running at large. All fowl enclosures shall be located in the rear and side yards of the property. All fowl enclosures shall be kept a minimum of 20 feet from a neighboring property. And all fowl enclosures shall be a maximum of 200 square feet and no greater than 8 foot in height or the run of the height of the wall. All fowl enclosures shall be maintained, and manure shall be picked up and disposed or composted a minimum of twice weekly. All composted manure shall be kept away in a way that prevents mitigations of insects, and all water sources shall have adequate overflow discharge, and all fowl seed shall be stored in an insect-proof and rodent-proof container. Those are the rules, and with that overview of the proposed text amendment, P&Z and staff recommend approval to amend our Articles 2 and 3 of Goodyear zoning ordinance. Again, as a reminder, this does not impact HOAs that might have CC&Rs that restrict those types of fowl. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Any in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read the ordinance number 2024-1614 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2024-1614, amending Goodyear zoning ordinance Article 2-2 definitions, amending sections 3-2-2, 3-2-4 of Article 3 zoning districts related to animal keeping and minor scrivener's error, providing for correction, severability, and an effective date, and directing the city clerk to record a copy of this ordinance.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the ordinance 2024 and 1614? Got a motion and a second up there. Just before we get into the discussion, just to make sure for anybody listening, this is something that the state passed and was signed by the governor, which requires us to act on this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so first up, we have Councilmember Campbell.
I just have 2 quick questions. Christian, do we have any 0 lots where the houses are not 20 feet apart? And you're saying in the ordinance, the chickens have got to be 20 feet.
You ask an excellent question. So let's say your lot is 40 feet or less.
Yes.
There's no physical way you could put a chicken enclosure 20 feet away from your neighbor. So
Okay.
the first time you might see one is if it's a 45-foot wide lot. And for reference, that'd be also you need a 20-foot a larger than 20-foot setback from the enclosure. So if your lot's 45-foot wide, you might have to put an enclosure on your patio if you wanted to have them. So hope that answered the question.
It does, and my last question is, how are we going to enforce this, that particular part of it, in case, you know, because I don't think anyone's going to come to the city and say, oh, now I can have chickens, and they go build their coops and whatever, and then we realize it's not in conformance with the law. How are we going to?
Great question. For something like a small chicken coop, it would be unlikely that a building permit would be required. A larger one, you definitely would need one. But the way that'd be enforced is really neighbors. If neighbors are experiencing a nuisance or insects or notice that there's chickens up on their walls, they would contact the city, and our friends in code compliance would assist us in getting to the bottom of that and making sure they come into compliance.
Very good, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Councilmember Gillis?
You know what I'm thinking.
I
don't
know.
you? You already know. The governor approved this,
Yes, ma'am.
and this can happen in Pebble Creek, it can happen in Estrella Mountain Ranch, it can happen unless an HOA says no.
If those HOAs currently on the books have prohibitions on chickens, or they get a vote of their members to restrict them if they don't, then the answer is yes.
So if the members, even if it's not on the books and the members vote no, then they can go against the governor on this.
The governor only says cities have to allow it. It doesn't say HOAs have to allow it.
So then the HOA could say no,
Correct.
no matter where it is.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure. I'm a little perplexed with this. The stink alone, I would think, would not be good. Well,
In the
you
state's
know.
wisdom.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just think that with our hot weather in the summertime, I just can't imagine. So, okay, all right.
All right, Councilmember Loretano?
I think we're all thinking what Councilmember Gillis was saying. Not only did the governor sign this, the legislature sent this to her desk for signature, thought this, with all the other issues going on with water and everything, this was an important thing to send to the governor. So if we don't pass this ordinance, what happens?
Then everyone can do whatever they want, basically, in short.
Okay. So this is the only little bit of measure of local control that we have. And if we say no to this ordinance, you know, then basically I can have 40 chickens if I want on any lot.
Chickens will run amok if we do not approve this ordinance.
I am so trying to be serious here, and it's just not working. I was exactly thinking, like Hawaii, where you can have the chickens are just on Kauai, and they're just, you know, or Maui, they're just running around. You got chickens. I would vote against this if this was our idea. Okay, if this was coming for our idea, I would say, no, this is the level of stupidity for this, and the level, I'm not running, so I'm going to say it. And the level of taking away local control is just befuddles me of who thought this was a good idea. I actually did a little research on this, and I looked it up, and apparently there is a run on people buying chickens from farmers in the state. If you guys didn't know that, there are articles about this, people actually buying chickens. I'm concerned about the smell. My first house was not in an HOA, it was in Estrella Vista. Those lots were 45 feet. You could technically squeeze one in there.
Yes.
So we do have a lot, some of our older neighborhoods don't have HOAs. I don't know how we're gonna get our code enforcement. Okay, well, you didn't take it out every 2 weeks. I mean, that's just something that, it's just silly, and I don't really see how this saves money, the cost of feeding the chickens and cleaning the chickens and taking care of the chickens, and what happens, and not to be silly, but, you know, every few years bird flu comes around, there's health issues if these birds are not taken care of, that you see they have to cull, these large chicken ranches have to cull their populations of chickens to prevent the spread of bird flu. I think there's health and safety matters. And just the distance, and I'm looking at this map, if I lived in this neighborhood and my neighbors could have chickens on both sides or 3 sides of me, I would just, you want to talk about losing property values in your state. Now, if you had an acre and we did this and you have an acre of land, I'd be okay with something like that, or a half an acre of land or something rural. And we already allowed it in ag, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So my protest vote, not against you, because you guys are just giving us some protection. My protest vote will be no. But I will have to vote for this because I don't want a chicken muck running. So thank you.
You're welcome. In writing this, I didn't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, and how they came up with this, but
You win. I thought Bill was going to say that first, actually, so thank you.
All right.
So in protest, I am voting for this to protect the city. Well, coyotes too. One more thing, coyotes.
Yeah.
You know, even urban coyotes. If you have chickens there,
They're
the
gonna look
coyotes are going to go for the chickens, and they might get the people's pets. You know, this is so not well thought out. So thank you.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yeah, thank you. No, I also local control. I like it when the cities are more in control of our own destiny. So I appreciate that. I also read, I know in Avondale, I think they did this last week. I think they also had to pass it. All the cities have to line up or not, are lining up for the most part with this. So my question was on, so if I'm in an HOA and someone finds out that I have chickens, can they fine, that's a private matter, can they fine that resident then?
yeah, my advice to any residents having to be listening with all seriousness is if you're considering getting chickens, please read your CCNRs and contact your HOA, especially with building structures in your backyard. Your CCNRs might have some provisions about that. So please reach out to your HOA before you bring a bunch of chickens on your property.
Yeah, I mean, I know residents that already have chickens, and before this was even a state law, so they were excited about this law. So, yeah, I think you'd be surprised. You might have neighbors who already have chickens you just don't know about. So, and then, so yeah, but I think it's yeah, I understand why we have to do it, and I understand that we're lining up with it. So, I just wanted to understand how the HOA portion works. But to Councilwoman Loretano's point, we do have a few. I think Wildflower, Estrella, yeah, a lot of them that are non-HOA that could just have a lot more chickens. So, all right, thank you so much.
Councilmember Stipp?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the big board here, and it says second, and I thought for some reason I wasn't next. I apologize. You know, this is completely fitting for my time on the council. When I first got on, we dealt with wild cows running through Estrella. And now we're dealing with wild chickens running through the city to end this bookend of my political career. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
But the mayor was worried that he was going to suspect there was something was wrong with me if I was silent the whole meeting. I just have to reiterate Councilmember Loretano's point of the irresponsibility of the state legislature to get involved in this during a time when we have real issues involving the state, and that this is what we spent a great deal of time on at the legislature, and that is just mind-boggling to me. If you're hearing this and you're wondering why, you need to reach out to the state legislator that represent where it is that you live in the city, and there's a number of them. The fact that they spent any time on this and did absolutely nothing about the water supply issue in the state is just shy of being criminal as far as I'm concerned. I would hope that we're going to be, and we've got code enforcement ready to be a little bit, I'm going to say proactive as much as they can, or at least by the time it gets irritating in the neighborhood is way too late for us to be responsive. I think between the odors and the sounds, we're going to have a lot of issues. And I know that we've got some regarding parking, which are regulated by some of the HOAs, and we've got dog barking issues, and those are, while those are technically code enforcement, those ultimately become the problem of the police department. And that worries me as well. So I hope that somewhere along the line, we're looking at how do we proactively work to respond to this as a city, that code enforcement is not a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 kind of situation, and that perhaps it's time that as we look in the very short term at some of these issues, that code enforcement perhaps is a 2-shift problem and not a single shift problem. And by work time, I'm talking about, so that we don't turn this into a police matter. Because the last thing I want to be doing is tying up police officers literally chasing chicken calls. And I think that would become the greatest tragedy of this whole thing, all jokes aside and whatnot. And I look, our backyards are pretty small where I'm at, but I can get away with a very large chicken coop in my backyard. And I swear if any of my 3 neighbors do it, I will literally fly the coop.
You had to.
I had to. But I think we're just, I know we've all joked about it and whatnot, but I think from a very practical perspective, we've got to look at how are we going to literally respond to these problems, because pretending that they're not going to come, I think would be a fatal mistake on our behalf. So, thanks.
I think your advice earlier was right on. There's a lot of HOAs in the city of Goodyear. So anybody that wants to put these in their backyard, you got to make sure you check with your HOA first. Okay? And it's not just the coop or the chickens. They may have some design on putting things in your backyard as well, and how high they have to be. And we have a lot of yards. So, but yeah, I have a tendency to go with Councilmember Stipp with the water issues and everything else. Be honest with you, nothing they do down there surprises me, but this one was somewhat of a surprise considering some of the major issues that we're fighting right now with water and housing and et cetera. Now we're dealing with chickens. So disappointed that it made its way through, but you're doing this because we don't have any choice. Okay, and that's the point I want to get across to the people out there. Did you have a last thing you want to say?
Yeah, just I'm sure, are we working with the HOAs in our city to educate them on what this means and what they can do still?
We can work with our neighborhood services team to get some messaging out to the neighborhoods about this.
Yeah, there might be some confusion, especially if there's a run on chickens, that people might be doing it without realizing that they maybe still can't. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and open up for the vote. Passes 7-0. All right, we have one item on business. We'd like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. That's it with the chicken. Pavement management is up. Please introduce yourself for the public.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sumit Mohan. I'm the Public Works Director, and joining me today is Brian Harwell, our Streets Maintenance Superintendent. We don't have any flying chickens or the answers to why did the chicken cross the road, but this is about roadways. So our program maintains the structural integrity of one of the most important and visible assets of our city, which is our streets. And a successful and comprehensive pavement management program includes a variety of pavement treatment types and utilizes the right pavement treatment on the right streets and the right pavement conditions. Our agenda tonight is pretty straightforward. We'll talk about the pavement condition index, then types of treatment that we have planned this year. Then we'll show you some maps of fiscal year 2025 projects. Then we'll present our recommendation. First of all, pavement condition index, or as we call PCI. It is the aggregate measure of the quality and condition of all the city's streets. We measure it once per year using a high-tech van with lasers and specialized equipment. This is how the PCI has changed over the last 10 years. In fiscal year 2015, it was 69.8. In fiscal year 2024, it's at 76.7. Now, most notable in this chart is the steady increase in the city's PCI and that it has been relatively stable in the last 4 years. Many thanks to the council for your support of this program and also to the city staff's hard work on this critical program. We seek to maintain the average PCI of between 76 and 78. In fiscal year 2025, our pavement management program, the cost will be roughly $3.6 million. We'll be working on about 46.37 lane miles, which is about 4% of our 1,136 lane miles in the city of Goodyear. This year, we will be utilizing 4 pavement management treatments, which will be micro seal, high volume fast, low volume cape seal, and asphalt mill and overlay. First one, micro seal, about 19.7 lane miles, $860,000. So before treatment, this is what it might look like. Commonly used on arterial and collector streets and is effective at correcting or inhibiting raveling and oxidation of the pavement surface, improving surface friction, sealing the pavement surface, and filling minor irregularities through surface application of about ½ an inch. And the effect is something like this, and it lasts about 5 to 7 years. Next treatment, high volume fast. It will be about 10.07 lane miles for about $425,000. High volume fractured aggregate surface treatment, which is the acronym for FAST. It is mostly utilized on rural and industrial roadways with moderate to severe cracking. First, we apply a thick rubberized asphalt emulsion. Then we apply a coat of multi-fractured aggregate. Finally, we use the rubber-tired roller to press the aggregate into the emulsion. This is the result, and the effects will last about 7 years. Next one is low-volume cape seal, about 5.4 lane miles for about $550,000. Typical picture before treatment. Commonly used on residential streets with moderate to severe cracking. It is a multi-layer surface treatment utilizing a low-volume fast as the first layer, followed by applying slurry seal. The effect is something like this, and it will last about 7 years. Last is the asphalt mill and overlay for about 11.2 lane miles at a cost of $1.765 million. This is commonly used on roadways where the surface has deteriorated to a point where other treatments are no longer effective. So this is our last measure. First 2 inches of the pavement are milled off and replaced with 2 inches of fresh asphalt. This will extend the life of the pavement and reset the treatment process of the roadway. This is what it will normally look like. As a best practice, a polymer-based seal coat is placed on the pavement in 7 to 10 years of a mill and overlay treatment. Next, I will hand over the mic to Brian, who will walk us through some of the project maps. Brian.
Thank you, Smeet. Good evening, Mayor and Council. In this first map, you will see up in the top right corner, we have an orange highlighted streets. This is micro seal. Down in the bottom, you'll see the green. That will be the low volume cape seal. As you may recall from last year's projects, we applied a slurry seal to the residential roads in Palm Valley 5. This year, we will be completing this neighborhood by applying a micro seal to the low volume collectors. At the bottom of the map in green, Canada Village, we will be applying a low volume cape seal. This is a 2-part process, as Sumit said, and will be applied approximately 2 weeks apart. Next, in red, we have our most comprehensive project this year, a 2-inch mill and overlay on Australia Parkway from Illinois to Yuma Road, tentatively scheduled for the middle of November. If you have traveled this section of road in the last year, you will know that this is in need of some work. With the recent turn lane and through lane additions, this is the perfect timing to get the pavement in consistent condition. Due to the high traffic counts and visibility of this road, we will be working extra hard to limit the impact and increase the safety of our residents throughout the project. by ensuring plenty of of message boards in advance of the project. We will, excuse me, we have already begun coordinating with existing contractors as well as the ballpark staff to ensure seamless coordination. We'll also be coordinating with the traffic restrictions of the city CIP project at the intersection of Pebble Creek and I-10 to further minimize impact. You may also recall from last year's projects that we reconstructed the roads in a portion of the historic Goodyear. In green, we have, Los Robles. As we've gotten so many compliments from the historic Goodyear overlay, we got a lot of inquiries about what we were going to do about the condition of these roads. So we will be applying the low volume Cape Seal on these roads. Again, that's a two-part product that will be about 2 weeks apart. In purple, we have the high volume fast. This is Bullard Avenue from MC 85 to Vineyard. And then in orange, we have the micro seals, which is Litchfield Road and Yuma Road. Our final map shows two projects taking place in Mobile. In 2014, we applied a FAST, a fractured aggregate surface treatment, to 83rd Avenue, which at the time was a dirt road. This has performed very well over the last 10 years, and we'll be applying another low-volume FAST to further extend the life of this roadway. In purple, we will be applying a high-volume FAST to 91st Ave and Butter Stage Road. These roads are primarily used for heavy truck traffic to navigate into the Butterfield Stage landfill, so this will benefit from the added strength of this treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Mayor and Council, at this point of the presentation, I just want to thank you once again for your wonderful support of this critical program in the last 10 years. And with that, I will get to the last slide, which is our recommendation slide. We respectfully request approval to expend $3.6 million to complete fiscal year 2025 pavement management projects. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening to us.
Anybody, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, will the city council please enter a motion in a second to approve expenditures in the amount of $3,600,000 to complete payment management projects in various locations throughout the city? Let's see, do I see a motion and a second on the board? Yes, I do. And I assume these funds are budgeted, correct? Okay.
Yes, Mayor,
With
that's
that-
correct.
Okay, in this fiscal year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just checking. All right, with that, first up, Councilmember Stipp.
The chart that you guys showed of the pavement index from 2015, if I remember back in 2011, when we first got on, we had been doing no pavement management practices. And if I remember correctly, I think our numbers were in the low 60s at that time. And it was at that time we decided to make a concerted effort to make sure that we budgeted funds to make sure that we were maintaining the roads. And this is the first time I've heard the total number of road miles that we have, the 1,100 so miles. And I thought I heard you say the industry benchmark that we're shooting for is 78 on the PCI, is that correct?
Mayor, council member Step, we shoot for the range of 76 to 78 as the sweet spot, which is a good place to be for responsible pavement management, so we don't slide below 76. And we don't have to spend a whole lot of money going way above 78 either. So that's the zone that is a good engineering and operational practice.
Yeah, thank you. Which is the same index that we use with our customers that we talk to throughout the country that are struggling with pavement management, et cetera. It is not inexpensive, but it is much more expensive to remove and replace the street than it is to maintain it. So this is money very well spent. I was in Pittsburgh this past weekend And it is astonishing to me the lack of care of the roadways that are subjected to freezing and snow and ice and thawing and everything that is going on there. And the condition of the roads there was shocking to me. And I thought, geez, if they just maintain these, it'd probably be so much easier to do it. Now, I realize we're not the size of Pittsburgh, but I would probably venture we've got a lot of road miles in our almost 200 square miles. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of the efforts over the years. I know this is probably the most thankless of all jobs, is taking care of the roads, but it is one that I think our residents are absolutely thrilled with and satisfied by. And Mayor, you keep mentioning this about the city looks so new, it's because of projects like this.
Correct.
So Brian, to you and your team and everybody, just thank you for taking the care for that. And the way that we've come since 2011 to today, from the low 60s to the upper 70s, I think is a great testament. And it's a testament also to council for continuing to spend the money to maintain this gigantic asset that we have, which is technically all of the streets. So thanks for that. And I look to our future council members to please, and I beg you as now a soon-to-be future, well, not that I'm not a resident, but as a resident, please keep this program moving.
Got it? Vice Mayor?
Well, I always appreciate the annual review of the pavement management project. Look forward to seeing where we're going next and keeping up with the good work. And this is an essential infrastructure. Certainly, it protects the investments that we've made in our roads, but it also contributes to the quality of life to have smooth and well-maintained roads, and not only from appearance, but just even if there's a lot of traffic, having a smooth road definitely helps to mitigate it. And I know that since the pandemic and the inflation got so high that we had to cut back on the miles that we are doing because of, to stay within budget. So my question to you is, based on the increased costs and things, are we still able to keep up adequately, or do you feel like we're in danger of falling behind with to keep up the pace we're going?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Kano, excellent question, and that is something we grapple with ourselves, and certainly we want to keep ahead of the curve, but sometimes the budget is a constraint. So in the coming few months, we are going to take a deeper dive into looking at our pavement age and the treatments and the frequency that we should be applying, and maybe we'll be requesting the council for a greater amount in the coming requests that we make in the coming few months, because really inflation is a reality, and we also need to make sure that we don't fall far behind, because we certainly don't want to be called Pittsburgh of the West. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'm glad that you're going to do that analysis and come back, because it would actually be more cost effective to keep up with it than to have a big catch up or go Pittsburgh. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for what you do. Yeah, it's definitely the kind of showpiece of the city. Everybody sees our roads, and kind of differentiates us between other cities on how well our roads are compared to other cities. So I appreciate all your hard work there. And then I'm sure you're already looking at this. It's something I've also already brought up to the city manager, but some of these larger projects that are coming, do you guys review the periodicity that you maybe look at laying the asphalt or the pavement in the future? For example, Buc-ee's is coming. They're talking about 100,000 people a day or a week and 5 million people a year. So that road, I would think, would have to have more pavement frequency than it is currently where it is now. So I'm just curious if those are projects that you guys look at often, just to make sure that we're keeping up with that demand that would be very increased, especially in a location like that.
That is an excellent question, and Mayor and Councilmember Hampton, those are the things that we certainly keep an eye on, and basically we measure our PCI once per year when you will see our high-tech van go around the city and taking measurements with laser precision. So we go through the entire city. At that point, we capture the condition and the quality of all the streets in the city, including the ones that are being traveled more. And then we get little segments and sub-segments scores for the PCI. Then we know which streets segments to really focus on. And then Brian and his team have some magic of a toolbox of so many different treatment types. Then they say, for this street at this time, this is what we need. So we really depend on the technical expertise of the team, and all those factors get taken into consideration. So
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah, just for an example, that location, because that'll be, if that many people, visitors are visiting Goodyear, I want them to be, that's a great, I don't want to be known for, that's the place there's potholes, for example. I want to be known that I can get in the Buc-ee's real easily and in and out, and it was a great experience, so. It's one of our first kind of tourist attractions almost, so, other than the ballpark, but yeah, but thank you.
Appreciate it.
Councilmember Loretano?
Not too much else to say here. I do also want to thank you and your team and everything, because I think you do a great job for making the city look really refreshed. It's a safety issue, obviously, so we can get people, commerce, people to their houses safely, get police and fire to where they need to go safely, quicker rather than hitting all the potholes and having to stop that you do in some cities. I'm not going to dump some more on poor Pittsburgh over there, but where some cities back east or areas that, have those. I appreciate that. I know different areas, you kind of have almost a rotating, a rolling way that you do these, and you kind of go through as you test them. So as I've seen them done, and you do them very quickly in the neighborhoods, so the people that haven't had this in their neighborhood or are new to Goodyear, you guys are in and out really within like a week. You do like a whole neighborhood and then you're gone. So I do appreciate that. It really does give the whole area a little bit of a refresh. So obviously it makes it look good as opposed also to the safety value. So thank you very much. And please, again, keep up the continuous, because when I first got on council, there had been a lag in this and we had to work to get up to a point to get that. That's how we got down to the 68, because it had been neglected. And so I appreciate that you guys working very hard to get it and keep it up at that safe level. So thank you, and thank your team.
Councilmember Gillis?
I agree with Councilmember Loretano. Thank you for keeping on top of this, because we have a growing city that's about ready to explode. And if we don't keep on these streets, we don't need people constituents hitting potholes and coming back and suing the city and that kind of stuff happening. And I'm with Sherry. It is really important to me that our emergency response teams, police and fire both, don't have any issues getting to wherever they need to get to in a quick hurry if they need to. So I'm really glad you guys are keeping up on this and bringing it forward. And if we have to do more, we're going to have to do more, because this is a very important project, which sometimes you don't think in that way, but it is, especially now with what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's not a whole lot to add except to say I'm just going to piggyback on Councilmember Stipp. I hear it all the time for visitors that I come in town, how pristine our city looks, and they think the city's brand new only because we put a high emphasis on code enforcement for our right-of-ways, our roads, make sure we have everything nice and maintained out there. So again, it's a very important project, and I know as we grow, it's going to be more challenging for you to meet those numbers. So I suspect we'll have this discussion at another point in time, when we get into our work sessions and the next year's budget. But keep up the good work. I appreciate you moving that needle out, because like Councilmember Stipp, I hear all the positives. The only thing on the road project that you have there on Estrella, the only thing, and I had mentioned to you before the meeting, just be careful of, is I was out there the other day, and you got people making the left-hand turn heading west on that road, hanging into the intersection. So I don't know what it's going to take, maybe some signs directing them around that to stay away from that area if they're going to happen to go south there after 10, because unfortunately, you got people heading south on Pebble Creek that hang in that intersection. You got people making the left there, hanging in that intersection. It's kind of a dangerous thing. So please, when you do that project that's going on right now, just be careful with that. That's all.
Mayor, we appreciate that. And just after you mentioned that, I connected with our engineering department leadership, and we found out that and also DST leadership, and I found out that some of that work that happened over the weekend was not approved properly through permitting through us. So the company basically that was doing it, the utility company, they went rogue, And,
Okay.
and right now, they should not have done what they did. If they had gone through our permitting process, that situation would have never occurred. As far as our projects are concerned, we'll be putting a sufficient number of variable message boards, informing public what durations to expect and also what detours might be good for them to take to avoid our zone, even though we will leave at least one lane for traveling public.
Appreciate that, thank you. You go ahead and open the voting? Passes 7-0. Does the council have any comments, commendation, or reports on current events or requests for future items? Look left. No? Well, start with Hampton. Councilmember Hampton?
Yeah, a lot of great grand openings this week, healthcare providers, which are very much needed in the city, and then also our entertainment, one of our first entertainment, we have a few, but at GSQ, entertainment user at GSQ. That was a great addition. Looking forward to seeing more of that come into the city. And then I don't know if we need to, maybe something later on we could talk about, I can bring it up, but just about if we are concerned about our code of compliance and things of that nature, I don't know if we need to have a discussion about that in the future around noise ordinances or just to provide more clarity to them around either chickens or noise or dog barking, things like that as well. So might be something to bring up in a future meeting.
Okay.
So thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Thank you. Our deputy city manager may bring this up, but I just wanted the public to know that our city manager, our fire chief, our human resources department head, and who else? Is that it?
Councilmember Campbell, we also have Jenna Goad out there and Justin Fair as well, another deputy city manager. So,
And they are attending the ICMA conference, and they are showcasing actual programs that we have here in our city, and it's giving us a really worldwide recognition about Goodyear, and we're just so proud that they have been asked to do that, and you're doing a good job, Kenny, so far. And I just wanted everyone to know that we're really on the map. But now's the time we can ask you to do things, right? Okay, thank you. Put you on the spot.
DCM, do you have anything you would like to add to the discussion?
not that one, Mayor, but I like my job so far, and I'm going to try to keep it going smooth. I did want to mention we had an event over the weekend, Ballet Under the Stars, and in partnership with the Ballet Arizona and the Estrella community, and we had an estimated 4,000 people in attendance there, which was about a 12.5% increase from 2023, so really great turnout. I want to thank Councilmember Loretano for sharing some great messages and words with her final Ballet Under the Stars as a council member, so I want to thank her for that. Also, we had about 12 food trucks out there, face painting, craft station giveaways, and from the Arts and Culture Commission, Public Works, and community vendors. So really good representation there as well. And I just wanted to say big kudos to our staff that may help make this event a success. Our police department, fire, engineering, Public Works, parks, and special events teams. So I just want to make sure the mayor and council knew about that.
Thank you. Next regular meeting will be October 7th, 2024. Now, don't go anywhere. We have a vote that can be held to call an executive session for the following pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3, consultation with the city attorneys to receive legal advice related to the city council rules of procedures. I'd like a motion and a second to go into executive. Well, wait a minute. Somebody pump. There it is on the screen. We got a motion and a second. Open vote. Everybody hit nay? You're a nay? All right, passes 7-0. Are we going back in that same, oh, right where? Right behind us? Oh, okay, Charles, okay.